Are you coming back to school with me? We could have done it all so easily.
All right. Hello, my name is Craig Thompson-Wood. I'm your host on Teaching with Board Games, back again with Matthew Tidbury, who has been very gracious to redo this interview after our previous take just didn't take because of some audio issues. So now we are really quite sure. We're really covering our bases here. He's recording and I'm recording at the same time. So we're going to make sure we get it right this time. Thanks again, Matthew, for coming out. Great to speak with you again.
No, it's my pleasure, and thanks for having me back.
I'm just grateful you're willing to do it. Like, I know it was just, I was pretty devastated when we did our first interview. It was just all for naught. Anyway, back to it. Just want to, for those of you who don't know, Matthew Tidbury is the designer, the CEO, if you will, of Think Noodle Games. He's the designer of the games like City of Zombies, Atlantis Animals, and some other ones which are coming up, which we'll talk about. And Times Square, that's another one you've done. And so Matthew, like, let's just maybe start off and just let us know, like, how did you get started in all of this?
Or designing board games. I kind of fell into it, really. It wasn't something I was planning to do, and I sort of came to it quite late in life. I suppose we go back 14 years, I think, about. It's scary. It doesn't seem like 14 years. But my daughter was at primary school, and she's a smart cookie, but she just didn't get maths, and she was struggling with maths. And I struggled with maths at school. In fact, I was appalling at maths at school. And when I saw her struggling the way I did, I thought, well, I really want to do something about this, because, you know, as you grow up and you explore life and you move into different careers and you do things, you realize how important maths is. And you know, I didn't want her to have to sort of teach herself and struggle with maths and do everything I had to do to become sort of half competent at doing maths. But so I tried to find some products that I could sit down and some activities that I could do with her, maths related, that would improve her numeracy and that were fun to do. I couldn't find anything that was any fun. All the activities were like exercise books or sort of exam type things, and they were just so dry and
flashcards.
It was just awful.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to a school and talking to her teachers and asking them for advice. And I knew her teacher quite well, and her teacher turned around to me and said, well, you're a designer, why don't you design something if you can't find something? So that was kind of the sort of the seed that kicked it all off and started the ball rolling. And then I thought, well, I want to do something that's really fun. I want to do it with Laura. What did I enjoy as a child playing with my friends and families? And it was board games. So it kind of started the idea of producing something like a board game, but that would sneakily teach her maths. Because if I said to her, look, we're going to sit and practice maths or do some sort of maths, she'd run upstairs, slam the door and not come out of her bedroom. I mean, she was quite maths adverse.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the start of it. And 7 years later, City of Zombies was finally published and hit the shelves.
Got to catch up to my lap, excuse me. So yeah, City of Zombies hit the shelves. Yep.
Yeah, 7 years later. And yeah, there's quite a long story which I can try and condense for you a bit about the development process of that, which why it took 7 years was I was running a design consultancy at the time, so I couldn't devote my full time to it. And I designed a game to start with, a board game that was based on pirates, and you're running around an island trying to dig up treasure and fighting with the other players and grabbing treasure. And it was a bit of deck building in there as well, but I didn't know anything about deck building at the time because I knew nothing about modern board games. I hadn't played any games since I was about 11 or 12. That was my sort of last experience of board games, probably something like Escape from Colditz. I think it's just been reissued. But yeah, I just had these sort of very fond memories of it. So I created this pirate game, which was really good fun, and everybody I played it with really enjoyed it. And it had dice rolling, and you had some multiplication and stuff in there, and took it and played it in class, Laura's school, and the teacher said, fantastic game, the kids love it, they really like it. She said, but just not enough maths in there. Really need, you know, you're not covering all the bases. So I thought, okay, back to the drawing board, sat down with the teacher and said, look, what are the boxes you need ticking to have something that's a powerful maths tool that you can use in class? So she took me through the curriculum and what they were looking for. And then I sort of restarted really using the pirate game as a sort of kickoff point, and then just playing around with the sort of the mechanics that evolved into City of Zombies, the dice rolling and the matching to numbers and things like that. And then it was a case of taking it back into school and play testing it and looking at what kids liked about it, what I liked about it, you know, and then just slowly moving it forwards. For I was playing it with Laura quite early on, and I could, you know, even in very basic prototype form, I could see the engagement and I could see the improvement in her maths.
What gave you the idea? Like, I mean, well, my favorite thing about it, I mean, what the kids love about it too, is just the I love that the mechanic of that, the dice and using them in whatever way you want. It encourages so much of that mental fluency, because it's not just like a flashcard like 2 times 7. You have to play with the numbers, you know, 2 times 7, 2 plus, well, you actually can't roll 7 on a dice, but 2 plus 5, 2 minus 5, and 5 minus 2, and 5 times 2, 5 squared plus, all these myriad of combinations of things. Like what where did that come from?
Well, it took a long time to get to that, believe it or not. Something that ended up being really simple, which is roll 3 dice, do whatever you think you can with those dice to get to that number on the zombie card. Took ages, really, because I was trying to be too clever, I think. In the end, I thought I need to just focus on what I really enjoyed doing as a child, and that was playing board games and video games. And the video game that really inspired me was Space Invaders. So you have this sort of these things moving down.
I see. I get it. Yeah.
So like you do with this, the zombies come in and they move down.
Yeah.
The other thing was that the thing I hated about maths at school was the teacher would write a sum on the board and she'd say, right, you know, 7 times 4 equals, and it'd be like, well, I don't know what it equals. My mind has gone blank. I can't visualize it. I can see everything visually, but I can't process the numerics of it. You know, I don't know what 7 times 4 is. And I hated the fact that there was only one right answer. So with City of Zombies, one of the things I tried to do was to get the answers on the board, and then all you had to do was to work out by rolling the dice the best way to get to that number. So you couldn't get it wrong, in the sense of, you know, you're not going to look stupid by going, well, 7 times 4 is 21. You know, though, you know, that's not the right answer, you know, and you just feel so stupid and you feel so powerless. And it does, it makes you feel quite powerless, and then you feel quite bad about doing maths, and you feel bad about maths in general, and then, you know, it's a sort of downward spiral from there. And what I wanted was a game that went the other way. Everything you did was kind of like reinforcing a positive experience with you. And I guess so, in answer to your questions, the 2 things that kind of ended up being the inspiration for City of Zombies was Space Invaders, for the way the zombies move, and a game called Shut the Box, which I was introduced to while I was starting to play some games. And it's an old pub game, and you roll 2 dice and you multiply them, and then you're trying to shut these numeric sort of slots in the lid and close all the numbers. And it was kind of like, well, this is quite interesting. If I throw in another dice and I kind of say, well, you can use any maths operations, you know, between those dice, or even, you know, squaring or cubing on the individual dice, then, you know, and it just kind of clicked, and it happened very, very quickly. Once I got it, you know, I had the whole thing really. I had the sort of the mechanics of how it worked probably in about 10-15 minutes. And then the rest of it came together pretty quickly after that. But getting to that point where it clicked was several years.
I love that the game's core mechanic came from an 80s video game and a game from a pub. And it's a game for kids. Wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure you could turn it into a drinking game, but
I'm sure you could. I'm sure you could. Just don't do it in class, folks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so City of Zombies, and I'm also mentioned you've done Atlantis Animals.
Yeah, yeah. Let me switch across to one I
There you go.
prepared earlier. So City of Zombies, that's the first game that I did,
Mhm.
I produced, and I ended up self-publishing it because there weren't any publishers who wanted to take it on, as it was an educational game, and it was also zombies. But the reason it was zombies was because that's what Laura loved. Laura got into a program on the telly all about zombies called Zombie Hotel. So it changed from a pirate game into a zombie game.
Mhm.
And then I started taking it into schools and playing it in class. So I'd take 4 or 5 copies of it into school, play it in class. And the teachers, after a while, said to me, "This is fantastic. Have you got a game that focuses on the 12 times table?" So that's where Times Square came from. So
Mhm.
Times Square works in a very similar way to City of Zombies, but all of the zombie strengths are numbers from the 12 times table.
Oh, you know what? I never clued into that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I knew you had the 12-sided dice, but I never actually thought about that when I looked at the numbers on the zombie cards, that they're all from the 12 times table. That never dawned on me. Yeah, shows how observant I am.
And then we've got Outnumbered. Sorry, no, let me do Alana's Animals next, because that
Yeah.
was kind of like the next one. So this came about because I went to a maths hub meeting in the UK, and it's kind of like a meeting of different schools where they talk about what's being successful with maths and what isn't. And I took City of Zombies along in Times Square to show them. And I stayed for the rest of the meeting. So I did my presentation and they said, "Would you like to stay on?" And I said, yes. And they were talking about how they've got children starting primary school. So this is 5 years old. And they've got absolutely no concept of even the most very basic maths. They're just not being educated at home in any way, shape or form. And it's quite worrying. So I created Alana's Animals as a way to help those preschool children learn all the core math skills in a very simple card game. And it's in fact got the whole year 1 maths curriculum from the UK built into it.
That's excellent.
You can play it in under 10 minutes. It's a fast, nice little game that you'll want to play again and again. And then
Well, you keep calling it a game, but the fact is actually when you look inside, there's what, 3 games?
There's 3 games.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
there's
there's
3
actually
modes of play. I mean, you have the hide and seek, and I can't remember the 2 off the top of my head, but yeah, there are 3 different ways to play the game, using the cards in different ways to have 3 different gaming experiences with the cards, which I thought was really nice to have that kind of thing built in there too.
Yeah. And we've got some co-op modes coming as well. So it's like we can team up and play against, a bit like in City of Zombies, you kind of like play against an AI, if you like.
And that's again what I'm like. Besides the dice mechanic, I think my second favorite thing of City of Zombies would be the fact that it is cooperative. Because too often, like again, going back to our own, like myself, I was also a very poor math student when I was younger. Hated games like Around the World, where you were playing this thing and it's just like whoever gets the right answer moves on, and if you get it wrong, then you say it just rewards the kids who are already good at math. They get more questions, they're getting more practice, but they're already good at it.
Yeah, exactly.
So okay, well, I'm done. I'm not going to go anywhere.
It just reinforces how sort of stupid you are, doesn't it? And that's just awful.
Yeah, I mean, but nowadays it's just my wife who reminds me regularly rather than other teachers. Well, actually, the other teachers at school do too. But anyway, that's besides the point. The whole experience with math games as a kid was very demeaning, humiliating, just discouraging.
They were awful.
Pick your negative adjective. It was that's what it was.
I mean, I think the frustrating thing I've found is that there are still very few really good educational games out there. I remember going to Essen back in 2015, and I went round the sort of, they had a section for kids games and educational kids games, and I was really excited. First time at Essen, discovered this area, thought, this is going to be great. I really want to see what other people are doing. I went round and played these games, and I think after about an hour, I was so angry and so incensed, I just had to walk out and go and do something else, because the games that they were presenting as educational games were just actually insulting to the kids and the kids' intelligence. And they wouldn't have lasted 5 minutes in a classroom. They were purely done to sell to the parents. So it was like, here's an educational game, buy this, you know, you buy it, you play it with the kids, it's absolutely rubbish, you never play it again. And of course, everybody starts to think educational games are rubbish. They don't have to be, but most of them are. And that's pretty disappointing. I think in the years since 2015, I think there have been some good, you know, a better level of educational games coming out and starting to move more into the mainstream. But,
and of course, when you want to know which good educational games are good and which ones you should be buying, you can always watch the other videos on my channel where I review them and talk about the things which are, you know, good. I try to focus my efforts on the games which I think are good games. I mean, there's the odd video where I talk about that they're bad, but I mean, overall, I think nowadays, I think there is more of a push going towards where people are realizing the benefit and the profit to be made in doing good educational games, that people will be looking for these things if you make a good game. Yes, if you just have like a roll of dice, move a thing, take a card, answer a question, that's garbage. I mean, nobody wants to play a game like that. Those are just, that's a very simplistic mechanic that's very uninteresting.
I mean, the whole ethos of gaming, as far as I'm concerned, is to sort of, you know, give you a positive experience. You know, whether that's, you know, a game that you really enjoy playing as a group. There's all this sort of social interaction and stuff going on as well. And if you know, I hate games, and I've played games where basically I've just felt everybody gangs up on me, and you just think, this is awful. I feel awful. I'm not enjoying this game. I can't wait for it to end. It's just, you know.
Been there. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get back to some positive things, not ripping on those bad games. So City of Zombies then was the first game you created, and then Elena's Animals, and then you did the Times Square for the 12 times tables, and then now Outnumbered. Why don't we talk a little bit about Outnumbered and what happened there?
Yeah, sure. Well, Outnumbered is a version of City of Zombies. So I licensed the game mechanics to Genius Games.
And Genius Games is an example of a company that does really excellent educational games, particularly in the sciences. I mean, Outnumbered is an excellent math game that they've done, like, because they've taken those City of Zombies mechanics and things. But I mean, their science games are phenomenal, like just amazing. Anyway, continue with what you're saying.
No, I mean, that's how I sort of stumbled across them. I saw, is it called Cytosis?
Yes, Cytosis.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, and I thought, oh, what a great looking game, and it looks fun, but it also looks quite scientific and quite sort of. And then so I saw that. I couldn't get hold of a copy, but I backed the Kickstarter for the periodic table one.
That one I haven't played yet.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. It's good. And then I bumped into them at the UK Games Expo, and I said, oh, I love your games. I do a similar sort of thing, but I do maths games. And they said, oh, look, we're looking to partner with someone to, you know, to help us with some maths games. I think they were developing Maths Rush at the time. So we got talking, and yeah, I showed them City of Zombies, and they liked it, and I liked them. And so I thought this would be a great company to partner up with, and to sort of try and get City of Zombies to a wider audience.
Yeah,
because
I remember.
Think Noodle Games is just me, and I do everything. And I can't do everything, you know. I haven't got the distribution in place, and you know, so getting the games out there is quite difficult. In the UK I can do it, but shipping abroad has become quite difficult. So to have a company with that sort of fulfillment,
they have the infrastructure already in place to do that kind of thing. Yeah. And Genius Games, I mean, when they were starting to talk about some of the mechanics that they were using, like in City of Zombies, you have to use all 3 dice. And I've always liked that about it. You know, you have to, you know, really be clever with how you making sure that you're using all 3, otherwise none of them count and you have no effect. Whereas in Outnumbered, you don't have to. You can use 1 or 2 of them if that's all you want to use, but you don't have to use all 3. And I wasn't sure about that, but you know, in playing the game, I see how it works. It's a much faster paced game, which I guess suits the theme too. They're villains as opposed to just zombies, so they're faster. They're coming down faster. So having those anyway, so it was good to see that they were taking some of the things you had, but it's again different game, and it's also like distribution, you were saying their infrastructure, everything is good too, because you've been having trouble getting even into North America with City of Zombies.
Well, it's always been expensive to ship abroad. It's been easy to ship into Europe. It's been more expensive to ship to, America, North America, and New Zealand. Australia has always been costly. But I knew that Brexit was coming up, and I didn't know what the situation after Brexit was going to be. So I wanted to be ahead of the curve and to be able to have somebody in the US producing my games who would be able then to distribute to a wider audience than I could. And in fact, now Brexit has happened, shipping anything out of the UK is incredibly difficult. And in fact, so tied up with red tape and bureaucracy that it's not worth doing, which is a pretty dire situation to be in.
Yeah, that's terrible.
But hopefully it will resolve itself soon. But at the moment, it's a bit of a nightmare.
Wow.
So it's worked out very well. They've taken on, they took City of Zombies, they worked on it, they developed it, they added their own twist to it and produced Outnumbered, which is, as you say, it's different City of Zombies. But you can see the City of Zombies in its DNA. And then they've taken Alana's Animals as well. So Outnumbered and Alana's Animals is now available worldwide, which is great.
Oh, so they've taken Alana's Animals into their, just as it is, and just sending it out as is. That's great. That's really good. Because yeah, I like that game too. And it was just, again, finding the North American distributor made it more difficult to have, but now the Genius Games has it. That's great. So it's getting put out there for more people can enjoy it. Yeah. So if you haven't checked out Alana's Animals, I would really recommend that. I've done a video about that one too, so you can see that one. And my granddaughter's getting to the age where she can start playing those things, and just she doesn't like following rules though. So have to try and maybe coach her into that, and maybe I can do a playthrough video with her playing it when she's ready for playing a game properly. But right now it's more just taking the pieces from games and role playing with them and things.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah. So in City of Zombies, one question I wanted to ask you about was you have like because there is a Laura and there's an Alana as the heroes in the game. So there's granddad and grandma. So I mean those are those are family. So there's other characters as well. So how are these characters? Are all the cards relations, or are some of them just figments of your imagination?
I would say that they're pretty much all people that I know that are either friends and family, or over the years, because City of Zombies is launched in 2013 and it's now on its fourth edition. And every time I've done a new edition, I've changed elements or upgraded things or tweaked things to make it more mathematical, if you like, and more fun, based on feedback I've had from teachers and kids and parents. All the characters in it, are based on people that I know. So my sister's in it, my mum and dad are in it, my wife's in it, my kids are in it, all my nieces and nephews, they're in it, some friends are in it, and then other kids that I've played the game with that particularly inspired me or have been particularly inspiring. I've thought next time I do a reprint, I'm going to include them in the game, and I've done that. So there are some kids in there that have just been, really inspiring to play the game with, and sort of homage to them.
It's funny how sometimes certain kids will stand out in your mind as something that inspired you. I don't know if did I ever tell you the story of we have like something called the Sawhill method in our class.
No.
A student of mine, we were playing as a group, and he rolled like a 5, 5, and a 3. So he said, okay, well, I'll get the number 5 zombie, and I'll get the number 3 zombie. And I'm like, okay, so you use the 5 to get the 5, the 3 to get the 3. What are you doing with the other 5? He goes, well, 2 5s make 5. I'm like, 2 5s don't make 5. 2 5s make 25. Or I said, you can't use 2 5s to make 1 5. He says, yes, you can. I said, explain it to me, because I'm not getting it. He says, you take the first 5, you square it, that's 25. You take the other 5, you divide it by that, that's back to 5 again. I'm like, I was just like dumbfounded. Like I had not even considered that. I'm like, Oh, wow. So, I mean, of course, it works with any doubles. So anytime now in the class where students roll doubles and they want to just
Yeah,
treat it as the single number, so they roll double sixes, they want a 6, or double threes, they want a 3. They say,
yeah,
okay, I use the 2 3s, Sawhill method, I get the 3.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
so it's now the
yeah.
Sawhill method.
It's
So,
it's amazing what kids can when they really want to get to something, they'll work out a way. I had exactly that experience. Exactly that. I hadn't thought of doing it. I saw a kid do it. Or I said, "What are you doing? How are you doing that?" Explained that, and I thought, "Flipping it, that's brilliant."
yeah, I had not seen it for the life of me. I was just like, it was there's like
Yeah,
forest for the trees thing. It was right there in front. I just didn't see it. But
yeah,
that's again one of the beauties of the game is just there's so many ways to come to an answer. You don't
yeah.
always see some ways to do it, and then they'll see different ways that you're seeing.
I think that surprise is really interesting, and I watch for it with teachers. Actually, in particular, if I go into school, I'll be explaining the game, and then I'll take them through a turn and get the whole class involved in working out the dice, and you can see you'll get one kid and you'll go, well, what's 4 times 3? Oh, 12. And it would just get it like that. And you can see this look on the teacher's faces. And I look for it. And it's like, okay, you don't think that kid's any good at maths. And
Hmm.
he's just done something that's like, and you can see the sort of surprise and puzzlement on their face.
Hmm.
And that happens quite a lot. I find in the UK that, you do kind of pigeonhole some kids and you think, well, those are the kids that are good at maths and those are the kids that aren't good at maths. But what the game does is it presents maths in a very visual way.
Hmm.
And the kids that think about maths visually, somehow that sort of feeds into them and they can really get it. And they produce, well, they can demonstrate how good they are at maths when perhaps the teacher doesn't perceive them as being that good.
Hmm.
So that's really great to see that.
Yeah, and I like that you have those targeting wheels, as you call them, on the corners. That I think that's a nice addition. I was sad to see they weren't unnumbered, but that's is what it is. I mean, I guess their cards are much smaller, so it wouldn't really fit well onto their cards.
No,
But
no.
I know my students do like to use those sometimes to just help them figure out what might be some combinations they could use to achieve a particular zombie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. They're like a little sort of hint, aren't they? Hint
Hmm.
to what you can use the dice for, but they don't give you too many clues, but they
No.
get you going if you're feeling stuck. But
Hmm.
then once you're confident, you don't even look at them.
Hmm. Yeah. So what other games are you working on currently then? So what else, what other games are in the workshop?
In the workshop. Yeah, we've got Fantastic Quests,
Hmm.
which is well, I call it a gentle algebra game. So it's a bit like City of Zombies in the sense that it introduces the maths in a very sort of gentle way, very um, not in your face. But as you start to play the game and become more familiar with the game and how the game works and the powers that you can activate with the gods, it's a game that's set in ancient Greece. So you're trying to win the favors of the 12 Olympian gods to help you complete quests. And each god can grant you their favor, but they can also grant you a divine power, which you can use to modify your dice rolls or achieve something you couldn't normally do. And the powers can be used individually, so you don't have to use them at all, but if you start using them, you find that you can start to advance through the game a bit quicker, and then you can use them, you can activate them and combine them, so you can start to build more complex equations, if you like, from these very sort of simple building blocks,
Hmm.
if that makes sense.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
So yeah, that's I've done a lot of play testing with that. I've done some play testing with you. It's gone down really, really well with both kids and adults. And I've been surprised at the response from adults because I didn't really design it as a game to entertain adults, but it's been really, really popular at the cons I've taken it to, or the gaming clubs I've visited to play test it.
Hmm.
It's gone down really, really well. So it's got this kind of like really nice sort of appeal to, to gamers as well as.
Yeah, I think sometimes gamers, I mean, is meant for kids to help educate the children, but I mean, sometimes adults just like a game that's not overly mentally taxing as well. But one thing we've talked about previously too is just the, some adults maybe appreciate the fact that they're playing a game that is clearly mathematically based, but not so taxing that they're going to be having to admit how badly they suck at math. Because this is something we both talked about. It's just so many adults nowadays thinks that, it's just such a common thing to say, I suck at math. I'm terrible at math. I'm no good at math. And it's like, it's acceptable. And
Well,
why do
I know
people...
we were talking about this last
Yeah,
time, weren't we?
yeah.
We were saying, that if you say like, oh, I'm really bad at English, then that's not exactly frowned upon, but it's not accepted.
I can't read.
Yeah. If you say, I can't read, then it's like, well, that is pretty bad. If you say I can't do maths, I hate maths, it's kind of like,
Okay.
yeah,
That's okay.
And that's pretty bad, really.
Yeah. I mean, math is, reading is out there everywhere. I mean, because we're reading things all the time. I think people don't realize and appreciate, how math is everything. Everything we do is mathematically related in some way.
Yeah, absolutely.
When just everything we do in life, it's just, you can boil it down to math. And so, maybe not doing like number equations and things, but that's still involved in a lot of stuff we do too. But, so playing a game like this might just be enough to say, well, I can get this, and I don't have to feel challenged by the math in it. I know I played City of Zombies with some adults, and some of them were a little bit intimidated by that as we were playing, because it was just like, again, the whole, well, I suck at math and I don't know. And
well, it's interesting because that's if I sometimes I do demos in shops, and talk to the adults about it, and quite often they're quite frightened about buying a maths game because they feel that they're going to look stupid in front of their kids, or they're not going to know how to play it, or they're not going to know how it works, or I can't do the maths. So, creating a maths game that kind of works with everybody at every level was also took a while to do. And that kind of like self-leveling that it's got in City of Zombies is, something that I'm trying to put into all the games that I'm producing.
Yeah. Oh, and then the Fantastic Quest is much lower level. I mean, really, you're only going up to 12. The equations will only go up to 12 that you need.
Yes.
So it's just some very simple playing of numbers and things. So I don't think people need to, even adults wouldn't need to feel that they can't do that.
No. But the idea is that the game could be taken into a classroom, and the teacher could use that game as a tool to start to introduce in primary schools the concept of algebra.
And that's the beauty of it. Whereas it could be a fun game, but where the designer has it in their mind for this purpose, or a clever teacher sees a game that's already pre-existing for a particular purpose. To be able to, as you say, teach a concept from it just through the play of it. Whereas I've taken games like Love Letter and Cockroach Poker, and I've used those in my math class for teaching probability. Just the fractions, the probabilities of what cards are coming out, what card is this, and just it's a great way to do it because you're applying it to something real. And so to take a game, again, the whole thing of gamification, kids are much more likely to be involved and engaged if you're doing it through a game as opposed to through a worksheet or through a Blackboard lesson or something. It's just,
well, it's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting, it's fun, and as you say, it's engaging. And the response when I've taken the game into schools, I've had kids come up to me and go, well, I thought board games were boring, but they're really good, aren't they? And I said, well, yeah, absolutely. Get out there, get to your local game shop and try some other games as well, because there's some fantastic modern board games out there. Love Letter, that's a definite favorite of mine. And in fact, if ever I'm introducing somebody into sort of gaming, because I hadn't done any gaming until I produced City of Zombies, and then I kind of thought, well, I better play some modern board games, and I've been really surprised and delighted at how everything's evolved.
Well, and your shelf attests to that behind you there.
Oh yeah. I mean, I tend to sort of want to consume, like I used to as a kid, consume sort of art books and stuff like that. Now I'm sort of consuming games and game mechanics, and I'm playing them, not with any idea to copy them. But what I find happens is that I'll play lots and lots of games, and then I'll go to bed, sleep, and then I'll have a dream, and it'll have put all these different things together. And I wake up and I go, oh, that's a good idea.
like Paul McCartney with Yesterday.
Is that how he did it?
Well, yeah, apparently you never heard that story. He dreamed
No,
it.
I haven't. No,
He,
enlighten me,
he dreamed
please.
the song, and he
Yeah,
woke up in the morning. He had the song in his head,
yeah,
and he went to his friends and said, "Who sings this? I can't think of who sings this song." And like, I've never heard it before. So he penned it. It was his.
yeah.
But he
Fantastic.
just came to him in a dream.
Yeah, yeah. All my best ideas come to me in dreams.
Yeah, yeah. I need to keep
Yeah.
a journal beside me on my bed. Sometimes I have some pretty good thoughts. Sometimes some really weird dreams too. But what?
But a journal is very good. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So
So
yeah, I consume a lot
fantastic
of.
quests.
Yeah,
Fantastic quest. What else? Anything else that you can tell us about that you're working on right now, or?
working on quite an interesting logic game,
Mhm.
logic sort of puzzly type, dungeon crawly type thing called Escape from Wonderland,
Okay.
where you're captured by the Queen of Hearts and imprisoned deep in the dungeons of the castle, and you have to work your way out. And that's quite interesting because it's a bit like, imagine sort of Tetris type elements, but you're placing them, and it's about the connections that you're making rather than kind of the shapes you form, combined with a kind of a dungeon crawl. So you're interacting with characters in this world, collecting items and artifacts, and there are these things called time crystals, so you can actually change time, so you can go forward in time and back in time as well within the level that you're currently playing on. So that's got things like, you might, for example, you might go into a room and there's a character in the room who talks to you about something and explains you might need a certain key or an object, and next to him is a pile of bones, and if you go out of this area and you find a time crystal later on, and you can use it to go back in time, and you go back into that room, the original guy is gone, but the pile of bones is now a person you can interact with and you can get an item from.
Oh, that's really neat.
And then
I saw
you
some of
can,
that once in the Mansions of Madness game.
oh
Where it
right,
was,
okay.
yeah. But in your game, I don't think the Hounds of Tindalos are going to come after you if you're playing with time.
Yeah, yeah, and you can use it to get past monsters. So if there's a particularly bad monster you can't at that point in time fight, if you have a crystal, you can move forward in time, and then it just becomes a pile of bones. So stuff like that. So and it's how you use them and the order you use them in, and management of those as resources. You know, do I use it now, or do I save it and use it later on? So it's all kind of, there's all these sort of different things, and it is quite logicy now.
That's good. That sounds good. I really like. I love dungeon crawls, and I like those visual spatial games like the Blocus, like the Baron Park, Project L, Blocus.
Okay, I've played none of those.
Oh, really? Okay.
I've heard of them, but I've not played them.
You have to watch more of my channel then, Matthew.
I will do. Yeah, yeah.
I think I've reviewed all 3 of those games. So,
Have you?
yeah.
Yeah.
Project L I just did recently. Baron Park. Actually, did I do Baron Park? But Baron Park is, you're making a park for bears.
Okay.
And just where you're putting the shapes together and the cages for the bears and stuff, and you're trying to fill up the spaces. And yeah, it's a neat game. It's a neat game.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so so fantastic quests. You know, that like when's that set to, like, do you like, and the other one, like, are they a year, 2 years, few months? Like how long do you think until
Fantastic Quest is very, very close to being finished. I've got the final artwork. I've just got to really decide who I'm going to go with to publish it. I'm probably going to go with the same company I've used to do my other games, because they're sort of local to me. And so the shipping, although they're more expensive to produce the game, the shipping costs are relatively cheap compared to China, which I think shipping costs have gone through the roof from China.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah. But that's
and do you think Genius Games would take that one on once it's published? And
they might do. Yeah, I'd certainly be happy for them to take. It would be nice because I enjoy working with them, and I think you know, they've got what they bring to the games, you know, I think are really good, a really, you know, a slightly different view on it.
Well, what they bring to educational gaming as a whole is like a lot of credibility.
Yeah.
You know, to say, like, you know, because I remember when I saw Cytosis, I saw the board, and you know, you're right, it's gorgeous. And I mean, it's just, I thought, okay, it's obviously a game about cellular biology, but is it going to be any good? or is this? But it was amazing. It's a worker placement game, and it was
Yeah,
fantastic. And by the end, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go to the googly apparatus, and I'm going to get this so I can do this, and I'm going to come here over to the, get some more mitochondria so I can use the energy to do this. And you're using all the proper terminologies, and I felt like I'm learning so much just by playing this
yeah,
game. It's been so long since I've talked about cellular biology that it was great. It was like, and like I said, just a fun game. The mechanics
yeah,
of it, the worker placement, it was really, really well done.
yeah.
Okay, and so the Wonderland game, where's that?
Wonderland game, the Dying Embers.
Dying Embers, yeah. So
Dying Embers, which is sort of a huge space exploration, and gosh, I don't really, it's almost like an odyssey actually, because you're going to be journaling as you go. So it's a true STEM game in the sense that it's got science, technology, engineering, maths, there's chemistry, and all about sort of atmospheres to do with planets and all sorts of things in there. But it's kind of a procedurally generated adventure game.
cool.
Kind of.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, I might have bitten off more than I can chew, but I'm trying to do some really complex things in a really simple way. And so far, touch wood, it seems to be working.
Well, sometimes when you think you're biting off more than you can chew, it's just you have to reevaluate in terms of how do you accomplish it still with I don't I'm the kind of person who doesn't back down from a challenge. I like to look at okay, what do I need to do in order to overcome this, whether it's solicit help. There's another story I could tell you for another time, but I don't want to take up too much time with that. But why don't you tell us, like, your shelf back there, maybe what kinds of games are you playing right now? What are some of your personal favorites? And
Well, I think like you, Love Letter.
mhm.
Absolutely. I
I thought it was a joke
what a
when I
game.
first saw it. I thought, what a crazy thing. I don't want to play a game called Love Letter. But then I went to a game
I know,
convention
yeah.
with a bunch of other male friends, and they're all playing and laughing and having a great time. I'm like, what am I missing here? So I played it. I'm like, okay, I've completely have the wrong idea about this game. It is a great game.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. It's just, and it's the one if I've got friends coming around and they're not gamers and they say, well, do you want to play? That's the one I always use to sort of introduce them to
Good
this
one.
sort of, yeah. And it's great because it's, you can teach it in a minute.
Yeah.
It's pretty quick to play. And suddenly when they realize, there's these layers, all these layers to it,
Yeah.
starts off simple and then you can start to get really quite
Well, and the
complicated.
math is in there. Like I said, the probability, once they start to recognize the probabilities of things, it's having that reference card is so handy in that game. You have one princess, one countess, one king, and you start to see that right there is so helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can start to see, I did it with my daughter's boyfriend the other day. He was round and we were playing some games and I introduced him to Love Letter and Tesoro.
Sure. Oh yeah.
Yeah, the one where you're moving stones round and you're laying down paths, and this is another great game to introduce.
So easy.
Yeah, brilliant. It's great. And we started off with Tesoro and then did Love Letter, and he just really got Love Letter and just enjoyed it and thought it was a great game, and has now asked where he can get a copy from. So that's
very good.
One of my really favorite, all-time sort of favorite games. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Trans-Europa. I have not.
So this is where you're building train lines, and you're just laying down these bits of like wooden matchsticks across a map. And there's Trans-America and Trans-Europa. So
you know what? Yeah, Trans-America. I think I've heard of. Yeah.
So this is the Europe map.
Okay.
And the American. I just think this is brilliant, this game. Absolutely fantastic. Again, quite simple to learn and to teach, but really, really good fun to play. Excellent. And not a particularly expensive game. Oh, I've just got this, and I think it's fantastic. Underwater Cities. You must have played that.
No, I haven't played it. I've heard of it, but I haven't played it.
It's great. It's really good fun, and yeah, I just really enjoy it. I think the mechanics are really interesting, and yeah, I kind of like play it, and I think, oh, I'd like to play that again, you know, as soon as possible, really. Oh, another good one is AQUATICA.
Really like your water games, eh?
Yes, sorry, AQUATICA. You can edit that bit where I dropped it off the shelf, can't you?
Nothing to that's staying in. That's staying in 100%.
Bloopers.
Yeah.
This is a great game. 30-40 minutes playtime, bit of deck building, bit of sort of worker placement type thing. It's great. It's a really good game. If you haven't, you should check it out actually for your channel.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's a good one. And then, are you familiar with Neanderthal or Pax Pamir?
No, I'm not.
Have you heard of those? I'll just pop them over there. Give me 1 second. I'll grab them. So, these are small box games, and they're quite expensive. I think I paid £30 for this.
That is expensive for a game that size, yeah.
Well, yeah, but there's so much game in here.
Hmm.
It's phenomenal. You're looking at probably 2 or 3 hours playtime.
Oh wow. Okay.
And it's a historic game, so it's set in Afghanistan, and you play either as a tribal leader or the British Empire or the Russians, and it's all sort of factually correct. But the way the game design is just phenomenal. This is the first game I bought that the way it had been designed, and the amount of games that had been sort of gaming elements that have been packed on a card, it just blew me away. Absolutely blew me away. Designed by a chap called Phil Eklund, and just phenomenal game. So having got that and played that, and that was probably the heaviest game I'd played ever when I got it. I then went out and got Neanderthal, and that is just phenomenal as well. And then I got his space exploration one, which is called High Frontiers.
Okay. Don't know that one either.
It teaches you basically how rockets work and how to put things into orbit, and then you've got sort of travel around the solar system, and then you start to go intergalactic and stuff like that. But that's not a small box. That comes in a big box, and the board opens up to a massive size. But that's a phenomenal game as well. So anything basically by Phil Eklund, I think is.
So
I think the
Eklund,
man's a genius. He's
wow.
an absolute genius.
I'll have to take a look at some of those.
They're really good. And then on the lighter side of things, we've got Port Royale.
I know that one.
Finally,
I know one.
Well, it's quite good. We need to have a sort of a comparison where we go through, and Dungeon Roll, I think it's called. Yeah, Dungeon Roll. Do you know this one? So it's like a dungeon exploration game.
I know of it. I've never played it.
It's good. It's good. It's really good. And it's, yeah, again, it's kind of, you're rolling the dice, you're looking at what you get with those dice, and then you're thinking, right, how far do I think I can get within this dungeon? How many levels deep can I go? And then you need to manage your kind of resources. I think there are 8 levels to the dungeon, and then you can fight dragons as well. So you have to sort of manage everything. So you think, well, I can get to level 8 and I can fight the dragons and things like that. But that's a great little game. And then in terms of bigger games, there's Everdell. Have you heard of Everdell?
I played Everdell. Yeah,
that's nice. That's quite nice because it's sort of like lots of like little forest creatures that you're building buildings and trying to populate them with the creatures.
And a beautiful board too, with the way the tree comes up and it's all 3D and everything like that. It's really nice. Very, very nice, yeah, visually. And
then what else have I got? Tang Garden. Have you heard of?
Yeah, I kickstarted that one.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
That's another visually stunning game. Yeah,
it is. It's really nice. Really, really nice game. Root. Now,
I know Root.
Interesting. it's an asymmetric game. So there are 4 factions that you can play as. The cats, the Erie, who are birds. What's the other one?
Raccoons.
Yeah, the Woodland Alliance,
Yeah.
and the Vagabond,
Okay.
who's like a raccoon. But whoever you choose, the faction you choose, the rules for that faction are completely unique. So it's a hard game to learn, because you've kind of got to learn 4 games in one. But once you play it and you've learned each faction, and you find out which is your favorite way of playing it, so your favorite faction, it's a phenomenal game.
You ever heard the game Vast?
Yeah, that's the one they did before that, Vast the Crystal Cavern.
Yeah. That one was funny because you can play the dragon, the goblins, the knight, or you can be the cave.
That's right, yeah.
So you can play the cave, just trying to kill everybody.
Yeah.
So
yeah, just collapse on them, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic stuff.
All right. Well, I think that's going to about wrap it up. So just want to say thank you once again, Matthew, for taking this time a second time around to talk to me and share everything here. But it's just great to hear about everything that's going on with you, and the ideas that are happening, and that the City of Zombies is not going to be alone. Well, it's not, it hasn't been alone. It has the other game, but that there is still more coming out from you. So it's just really happy to hear about that and share with the viewers about what we can be looking forward to in the future.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay, and as I say, that is going to wrap it up. So until next time, I am Craig Thompson-Wood, your host on Teaching with Board Games, saying thanks for coming to the classroom.
Are you coming back?